Good afternoon. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin. Across from me, different person in the chair today, BJ Lisco. He's going to join us and talk. We're going to talk the Masters to start off the show here in just a minute. But we have plenty on the show. Guardians are about to throw their first pitch, as long as they haven't got canceled. I don't think they have, but it's mid-30s today, so it's a cold day. We're going to talk little Cavs, little NCAA championship, a bunch of news and notes, and a bunch of stuff around the sports world and the world in general. So before we get into those Cleveland sports topics, obviously this is one of the biggest, coolest weeks of the year, because when I think after the NCAA tournament ends on that Monday night, generally that leads right into the Masters week. And usually that coincides with good weather. You're right. But not necessarily the case yesterday or today. Hopefully it's, knocking on the door. But this is the first of, obviously, the four majors in golf. You got the Masters, you got the PGA, the US Open, and you have the Open. So BJ, which... To me, obviously, the Masters stands out as the best of the four majors. If I had to rank them, I'd probably go Masters, the Open, over whether it's in Scotland or Ireland or wherever. Then I'm probably going PGA Tour, then US Open. If you're ranking the four, how are you ranking them?
I would do the same, except I would flip the Open with the Masters.
Okay.
Just because I like the Open a little bit more because the field's bigger.
Yeah.
There's 140 some guys in the Open. I think there's only around 80.
That's a good point.
Usually. I like the bigger field, and it's more kind of international and stuff. There's sort of more long shots, different guys you haven't really heard of. And I also like the fact that the Open, it's on at you start watching it at 2 a.m.
That is really cool
because it's how far they are ahead, and they do the whole thing. So but I do. But the Masters is great though.
I do love those links courses over there too. Those are sweet. But the Masters probably. Now, I have never been to Augusta, Georgia. I know people that have been to the Masters. Have you ever been?
I was there for a practice round.
Okay. Was that, and everyone I have been told, it lives up to the billing. It is pretty as you see on TV. It's maybe even better than what you might have imagined in your head. So what was your experience there? And
it's just pristine. I mean, if put it this way, if on the course, whatever, if a pine cone falls, there's somebody there to run out and grabs a pine cone and picks it up and moves it. Everything is absolutely perfect. It is way in person it is way hillier. It is a walk. There are holes that are almost like you're walking straight up a hill and straight the hills and undulations. The TV does not do that justice at all.
Okay.
It is so it is super hilly. There's not really a flat lie on that course where you're hitting off a level ground. Okay. It's always the ball's above your feet or below your feet, whatever, which makes it kind of unique. But it's a cathedral.
Interesting.
Golf, you know what I mean?
I did not know that about the slopes and the hills and stuff. I had actually once, not to name drop, but I'm going to name drop. I had was talking to Scott Van Pelt, who has become kind of synonymous as the voice of the Masters. And he was telling my buddy and I a story about how there are underground tunnels that they take the trash down. So because like you said, if a pine cone falls, they do not want a pimento cheese sandwich wrapper or a cup of coffee out on this course. It is that beautiful, and that's why, because they put so much focus on these individual details. So now we've talked about the course itself a little bit, and all the holes have a name. I believe they're named after either a tree or a flower. But let's talk a little bit about the golf aspect. Now, I am not the golf expert you are, but I do know Scotty Scheffler, I believe, has won 2 of the last 3 of these. and he is the favorite, obviously, leading into this. So what's your thoughts coming into, this 2025 edition of the Masters? And, we don't have to start with favorites or anything, but like, what's your expectations?
Yeah, somebody's going to have to beat Scotty Scheffler, I think, because he's going to be right there. He'll be on the leaderboard Sunday. Like he's just so consistent and such a good ball striker. I mean, if he putts even halfway what he's capable of, he's going to be hard to beat. I think the talk's on Rory McIlroy this week because he hasn't won a major in 10 years. But he did win the Players Championship earlier this year, which is for like the 5th major. Yeah. And he's been, he's not like he hasn't won in 10 years. He's won a bunch of tournaments over the course of the last decade, just hasn't won a major. So be curious to see how he does and if he can kind of keep the pressure, keep the pressure down and contend. I think he's going to do pretty well. And then as far as you start getting into other guys, I picked a bunch of long shots here. We'll get into the bet, like some of the betting odds. I'll give you some of these betting odds here. Okay. But I did like there are a lot of guys. I mean, this tournament, everybody's so good in this tournament. Pretty much almost anybody that's in the field can win, with the exception of some of the senior guys or some of the guys that are legacy guys that are around. But everybody else is among the top, 70 in the world, or they qualified some of their top 50 in the world, and they're qualified some other way, either by winning a tournament or this or that. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. But it is like, as far as a major on TV, you kind of can't beat it. And as far as like the Masters app, download that. You can watch every shot from every player if you want. Every single shot on the Masters app. Everyone. And like, so yeah, so the coverage of it is insane. So yeah, if you're a Masters junkie, and they have gotten better. You used to only be able to watch on the weekends, really, and now I think whatever. I know ESPN obviously covers it, but there's other coverage where you can watch most of it. But so the Masters app, that's good to know. Yeah, so I mean, outside of the favorites, I mean, Scotty and Rory, everybody's going to be kind of watching them. There's guys from the Live Tour like John Rahm. I don't. So there's certain guys that are getting. Was he 2 years ago? Did he win it in between the Scheffler wins? He won it, yeah. So, but it's hard with those guys on the Live Golf Tour to kind of handicap them, really, because they're you don't see them a whole bunch. You know what I mean? Like, you're not seeing them a lot anymore, and they're not competing against the same caliber fields necessarily. There's great players on the Live Tour, don't get me wrong, but it's not as big of a field. Sure. It's sort of like in 54-hole events. It's hard to sort of some of these guys that are getting like John Rahm plus 1,400, like he doesn't pay out for anything even if he wins. And it's like, there's some guys that they're considering quote unquote favorites that I don't have no clue why they're up that high. He's one of them. Brooks Koepka's another one you kind of don't really know because he's been on the Live Tour. And then there's a couple other guys that are there's your guy Patrick Reed at plus 9,000. Patrick Reed, though, yeah, I mean, he's another one on the Live Tour, of a former Masters champion. But yeah, like a lot of these guys you just don't know because you're not seeing them week in and week out, like we used to, or competing against some of the best. But I picked 5 guys that are long shots. These are to win or top 5, even if you want to go if you want to go that route. And my criteria was they had to be plus 8,000 or better, or whatever to get. So these are my guys, and actually we'll put them up here. So the first one on this list, obviously, Sergio Garcia at plus 8,000. Sergio Garcia won a Live tournament earlier this year. He's been one of the most consistent guys on the Live Tour, and he's also a guy that's got back in the good graces with the European Tour, right? So like a lot of those Live guys, they said, oh, you can't play on the Ryder Cup now because you revoke your membership to the European Tour or whatever. He actually got back in their good graces, whatever he had to do that. So he's eligible for a lot of those tournaments now again. And he will for sure be on the Ryder Cup team later this year. So I can see him, and he always pulls it together and plays pretty well at Augusta at plus 8,000. That's a pretty good one. And another one, I would say just about any one of these guys for the top 5. But the next one is the Ryder Cup captain, Keegan Bradley. I like plus 11,000. Yeah. He's been playing really, really well this year too. Like he's just been consistent. He's going to be the Ryder Cup captain. I think he's going to try to play his way onto that team. He's not going to pick himself, obviously, but he's going to try to play his way into the top 8 to be an automatic qualifier. Sure. So I could see Keegan Bradley having a good week and being in contention on Sunday. Another guy that I'm surprised he's getting these odds, and I understand he's on the Live Tour. I understand he's quote unquote he'd be on the Champions Tour if he wanted to be because he's 53, I believe. Is Phil Mickelson at plus 12,000. Phil Mickelson always plays well at Augusta.
Yeah,
that he's getting those odds there is kind of crazy to me. And I guess I understand why, because again, he hasn't been playing on the PGA Tour a whole lot lately, but this is a guy that's only a couple years removed from winning a major, becoming the oldest major winner in golf history. And he always plays well at Augusta. He always gets his game together for this. So it wouldn't shock me at all to see him somewhere on the leaderboard, somewhere near the leaderboard on Sunday. So the next guy I've got on here, he has a local connection too, is Stephen Yager. So his caddy is Henry Diana, who's the brother of John Diana, who's one of the pros at the Bunker in Boardman. So he's been playing really, really well too. He was in 2 tournaments earlier this year that he really honestly should have won at least one of them, if not both. And he's I think his brother said he's already over like $1.5 million this early into the year. So I mean, he's finished high. So he's playing well. He's trending well coming into this. Now this last guy is complete long shot. And I don't know if you know the story of Angel Cabrera. Do you know anything about this guy?
I mean, I know the name, but I don't know the backstory.
Okay, so a former Masters champion. Well, he won the U.S. Open at Oakmont. Actually, when I was a sports editor back, I covered it that year, the year that he won. Angel Cabrera has been in prison for like 30 months leading up to this year. He was in prison for over 2 years, 2.5 years.
Okay.
He came back, right? Last week, he won on the Champions Tour. He won. It was his first Champions Tour win because obviously he's been in prison for all his time.
All right. Stop you real quick. What's he in prison? What was he in prison for?
Oh, some bad
here
stuff. No, he was in prison in he's from Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was in an Argentinian prison. He was in another one too. He was in a couple of them, like these maximum security prisons. He was in like some really like so he did some. He was not a good guy. I mean, he's a great guy to watch on the golf course.
Yeah.
Because he plays ultra fast and he makes it look so easy. But he's one of the fastest players out there. So like, and I've watched him play live so many times. I mean, this is a guy that barely takes a practice swing. He walks up hits, but he's a joy to watch on the course.
Okay,
his character off the course might be a little bit questionable, but it was cool to see him win last week on the Champions Tour. So he is a major long shot, but one of those guys that, again, is an older guy, but always plays well at Augusta. I mean, what does he have to lose? He's been sitting in a prison cell.
Throw a couple bucks on him, finishing top 5, top 10.
You're right. So those are my 5 sort of dark horses or long shots to win, and maybe not even necessarily to win, but even to even to go top 5, because I think it's going to be hard to dethrone either Scotty or Rory or Bryson DeChambeau or some of these other guys that are at the top.
Or maybe that's one where if you're a parlay guy, parlays kind of sucker bet sometimes, but if you threw like, hey, maybe I think Scotty Scheffler is going to finish top 5, but I'm going to also parlay that with maybe Keegan Bradley, or like I'll throw a few bucks on Steven. Is it Jaeger? Steven Jaeger or Yager? Yager. So I'm going to throw a few bucks on that, and hey, why not? I like it. Keegan Bradley would be one of my sleeper picks as well. I think he always performs well there. And I like those picks. The Angel Cabrera story, I had no idea.
So he was doing all kinds of, I mean, if you read multiple women came out with him, and it wasn't like it was almost like a case of he was controlling these women or doing whatever. Like, so he was
a pimp.
It was really shitty. I mean, I don't know about him, but he was doing. But anyways, I mean, he's come out since and gave a couple interviews where he's just like, where he said, I wasn't the devil, but I was close. And it was like,
oh man. Well, I don't want to laugh because I don't know the story, but
I know, but like, and you figure this dude's been in prison and has to beat the Masters.
Oh my gosh!
So I'd be curious to see how fans and stuff react to him there too.
Sure,
but yeah, I mean, on the golf course, he's fun to watch.
Plus 100,000.
He might not be so fun to hang around with. I mean, some of these other guys that are way down there on the list, too, that at the 100,000, like most of those guys are senior tour guys. So, and a lot of these guys probably don't have a chance. But there are some guys like way down on the list. You never know if they catch fire. Zach Johnson's a former Masters champion at 75,000. Bubba Watson, another one. He's 50,000, although he's not been playing well at all. So yeah, but it will be interesting to see. Like I said, it's Masters weekend. One thing I love to do with this is whatever I make bet gambling wise, football wise, or whatever's left over, I just leave in there to the Masters, and then I bet like $5-10 on like 20 some guys. I probably defeat the purpose, but it's just fun.
It's all right. That's what makes it fun. So there's obviously a lot of the bigger names towards the top of the leaderboard, but or towards the odds. But BJ threw out some good names there. So Sergio Garcia, Keegan Bradley, Phil Mickelson, Steven Yager, and Angel Cabrera, fresh off of his pimping sentence headed to Augusta. But I mean, my God, like these views, the details of the course, I just saw, like these are the cuts of the grass. They put out all these cool graphics this week for the Masters. It's not cheap to get in there, but if you can get in there, you can go with basically $20 and eat like a king or queen in that place. And obviously it will be pristine and well taken care of, well groomed. But like BJ said too, you might be walking up a lot of hills, doing a lot of getting your incline in if you're on there.
There's a ton of incline. Another thing that they do there too is when it rains a lot there. Mm-hmm. So that course they can make that course bone dry at the drop of a hat if they want to. But where they pump all that water is right into the walkways.
Oh, so, interesting. Okay.
The one year we went on the practice round, we wore our waterproof golf shoes and stuff to do because you're walking through and you're just trudging through mud everywhere because that's where they pump all the water.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
They dump it all into where the patrons are, and even that drains pretty well and pretty fast too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that course can be bone dry at the drop of a hat.
And the other cool thing you'll probably see on TV, and I think the Masters is one of the different aspects of golf where, someone that might not be interested at all in golf can watch that and just appreciate like the beauty of the course and the skill of the players. Like you said, that's a smaller field that, you're getting the best of the best or straight former champions that know how to play this course. Do you think like some guys like Scotty Scheffler last year literally could not be stopped? He was, winning nearly every tournament there for a while. But this year he, I don't want to say he struggled because he's done, but he struggled comparatively to like his standard. But like a guy like Tiger Woods, who won't be playing in it this year, but like Tiger Woods in his prime, Scotty Scheffler, do you think these guys can kind of like just go through some other tournaments, work out some of the kinks, and then they just know how to play this course? Do you think that's true?
Some can. But so the Augusta is one of those courses where you have to miss in the right spots or you're screwed. If you're off just a little bit, if you don't know it or you don't know where, again, you need to know where to miss. Like, sure, the last time Tiger Woods won, he won basically because he played a safe shot on number 12, just onto the green. He wasn't going to that flag at all with the wind. Whereas everybody else that was on that leaderboard went flag hunting and all of them ended up in the water.
Yep.
So, that's how Tiger Woods, he put on a clinic on that back nine. So yeah, knowing the course is a huge help as far as, but again, you can still know the course, but you still got to hit the shots. You still got to putt well. Like putting is normally where it all comes down to. They're like missing in the right spots, but then, Scotty Scheffler's had years where he could miss in the right spot still, but if his putter's not on or he's not he's not sinking the putts, then it's like he'll be up there, but it's not going to quite take him over. So, but I like I said, Augusta's great because, like I said, there's a lot more strategy to that course than a lot of the other ones. I like the fact that it doesn't change venues, like where all the other majors change venues.
Sure.
Every time it's somewhere different. Sometimes they'll come back to the same places, like in certain instances, like the Open or even the US Open, whenever.
Yeah, Oakmont again this year.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I like it because that course is there, and the Masters generally they make it to where it's like it's 10, 12 under usually wins somewhere in that ballpark. Which is, like I said, it just proves that you don't have to always go to the newest place, or you don't have to do these crazy courses or the craziest designs. Now they have made some changes to Augusta, but again, for the most part, it's just down to the greens and just having to be strategic. And
for a while, they tried to like Tiger proof it. They made it longer, but they also made, they made changes to the roughs and the fairways and stuff like that. But if you're good enough, you're obviously you can win. But like you said, you have to know the course, but you also have to hit the shots and execute. You can we can look out there and be like, oh, I know where to hit it, but is it going to get there? Is it going to get where I need to go? So that is obviously a huge difference. So any other thoughts on this, the Masters, leading up to the tournament? What's your thoughts? I don't know if you ever watched this. What's your thoughts on the par 3 competition. Do you ever watch that? Get into that?
I'll watch that a little bit here and there. What's funny about the par 3 is I think whoever's won the par 3 has never done well. They've never won the Masters, whatever. But yeah, generally, like if you win the par 3, it's not a good sign for your tournament the rest of the way for whatever reason. You know, maybe that could change this year depending on how much or who's all in it. This go around. But yeah, it's always fun to watch. They have a lot of stuff cool surrounding the actual tournament itself too.
Sure.
So,
and like BJ said, download that Masters app. You get a bunch of cool content, and you can literally, like he said, you can watch every single shot. Do you have a favorite hole on that course?
Probably,
or hole, you know,
probably that par 312.
Yeah,
it's just because it's not a long hole. It doesn't seem like it should be hard, but it is because of where it's situated and where the wind comes off the trees and whatever. It's like it's so unpredictable. And you can your margin of error is so slim there.
Yeah.
Because if you go long, you're in bushes and you're chipping back down to an ultra fast green that's sloping back toward water. If you're short, you're dead. It's just in the water anyway. So yeah, it's a tough hole. I mean, I would love to play it. I've stood there and watched guys hit on it, but yeah, it'd be cool to take a couple swings and put a couple in the drink there myself.
Absolutely. But I mean, you know, and again, for the casual fan that might not be super into golf, that might just, you know the Tiger Woods of the, whoever it might be. But this is a tournament that I think just everyone can really appreciate. And again, like I said, it kind of is like a sign of spring, sign of summer, that like the weather's changing. I know yesterday it was real rainy down there, but I believe today and the rest of the week looks pretty good weather-wise. So don't expect any weather impacts this week. So and any closing thoughts on the Masters here?
No, it's just like it's an exciting week. This kind of kicks off golf season. You know what I mean? This is sort of like obviously there's tournaments and stuff leading up to it, but this is I think the one that everybody like officially kind of starts watching and tuning in. Ever since they moved the Players Championship used to be in May, they moved that up for whatever, I think Olympics and other events that they had kind of going on, and it's weird to me that is up so early. So this is still in my head, like this is kind of when
this is the kickoff to the season. No doubt. So give us those long shots one more time.
So Sergio Garcia, Keegan Bradley, Phil Mickelson, Steven Yager, and Angel Cabrera. All those. If any one of these guys hits, it's going to pay really, really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, even top 5, I can see a couple. These guys are going to be flirting with it, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's always always a fun watch. And
BJ knows his stuff about golf. So those are, I'm not going to tell you where to spend your money, but he, think of him as an investment strategist for your betting odds this weekend at Augusta National. So BJ, appreciate your time on that, on the Masters. Obviously we're really, really looking forward to that this weekend. So, I'm going to have BJ come back up in a little bit if he wants. Joe's going to join us again here soon. But here is what else is on the docket for today. We're a couple minutes away from Guardians opening day at first pitch. And again, I think it's the coldest opening day on record in Cleveland. I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure the previous low was like 37 for first pitch. The Cavs tonight is a doubleheader in Cleveland. Guardians are about 4:15. Cavs are about 7:15. Doubleheader. Cavs look to finish first in the East. We're going to get into the NFL and Browns draft. I came up with some of the skill position guys that I think the Browns are going to be looking at. We obviously touched on the Masters there with BJ. And again, look into his sleepers there or long shots because he knows what he's talking about. And obviously, plenty of news and notes to go around. So, welcome, Joe. Look at that. Look at how we transition there. Just slides right in. So, let's start real quick on this day in history, April 8th, 1974. Hank Aaron broke the home run record to pass Babe Ruth. That was 715 at the time. He finished with 755 home runs. Barry Bonds eventually overtook that, 762, and then the rest of the top 10. Only 4 guys have 700 or more home runs in the history of Major League Baseball. Albert Pujols being the most recent to do that. But Joe, you obviously know about the whole steroid stuff with Barry Bonds and stuff. Do you consider him, or do you think he's deserving to be the home run king, or would you give it to Hank Aaron?
Hank Aaron.
You think so?
Yeah. Enhancement, that changes the game.
I don't disagree, but I think the numbers are what they are. And to me, like, I never saw Hank Aaron play baseball when, I wasn't born when he played. I've obviously seen some highlights and stuff, but Barry Bonds, he started his career as a Pittsburgh Pirate. And to me, I used to go as a kid, obviously mostly to Cleveland games, but I went to a few down at Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh and saw him. He was the best baseball player I have ever seen in person live. So to me, and yes, he I think had some enhancements throughout his career. He obviously got bigger, stronger, but he would have been a Hall of Famer without steroids. But I think that maybe took him from a 9.5 to a 10, or a 9.5 to a 9.9.
Well, okay, let's change it from Barry Bonds and let's do like Mark McGwire. McGwire was really a small guy playing before he started.
I wouldn't call him small.
He was a smaller than Barry.
Yes,
smaller than Barry. And so he was like my favorite player.
Yeah,
like he was my guy.
Yeah.
And after he started hitting the enhancements, I lost a little bit of. I guess it was fun watching these guys hit home runs. Him and Canseco. I mean, it was really a fun time to watch it. But
the Bash brothers,
asterisks. That's what it did for me.
That's fair. I can agree with that. The asterisks, I can definitely agree. Mark McGwire actually on this list would be number 11. I think he's at 583 or something like that. But you see Sammy Sosa on there, 609. He definitely, so out of the top 10, Barry Bonds, Pujols never had anything. A-Rod had a scandal. And then Jim Thome, nothing. And it's cool to see a Cleveland guy on there. And Sammy Sosa obviously had the steroids issue and apparently has turned white over the years. Have you seen a recent picture of Sammy? He's like bleached. Yeah.
No way.
Like completely. It's weird. It's weird. So, but anyway, there's our top 10 home runs. But Hank Aaron, what a great player. So Joe, the Guardians 3-6 to start the year. Obviously, they are the only team in baseball, though, that has not played at home to start the season. So they will get to do that in a beautiful 32-degree kickoff. So that's what the temperature is probably going to look like, and fans in the stands. Hopefully, they are staying warm somehow, some way. Probably some alcoholic beverages will help keep them warm this week. Doubleheader in Cleveland tonight. As I mentioned, the Cavs will play at 7:15 against the Chicago Bulls. The Cavs' magic number is 1. One Cavs win or one Celtics loss locks up the number 1 seed in the East. The Cavs are 62-16. So 4 more games left. Obviously, if you do the math there, they can finish 66-16. That would tie their all-time franchise win mark at 66, set back, I believe that was 2009. But they cannot break it. They did lose their last game to Sacramento on a couple interesting calls, but regardless, just get the number 1 seed. That is most important. The Knicks host the Boston Celtics tonight. Celtics at 58-20, the defending champs. Boston Celtics are trying to, they would have to win all 4 and the Cavs would have to lose all 4. But this is pretty much a lock. But, you never know in professional sports how things go. But the Cavs just get 1 win and you are in for the number 1 seed. Last night ended the college basketball season with the Florida Gators knocking off the Houston Cougars. They were down by 12 points in the second half. Florida, this was kind of their thing. They came back against Texas Tech, against UConn, and they came back and won. But the big thing with this tournament, I think Duke was by far the best team in this tournament. They did not get to the championship game. They lost. They blew a lead to that Houston team that was amazing defensively, but Houston went on an 11-1 run. They were trailing by 14 and ended up knocking off Duke. Todd Golden, the Florida head coach, is the youngest coach since Jim Valvano to win a title. And again, I think Duke was the best team. They just had a bad night, and you can see the meme there from White Lotus, which obviously knew the script of this college basketball season. And by the way, if you didn't see the White Lotus season finale, had some serious body count in the end of that season. So highly recommend getting to that show. Real quick, in the women's game, they finished off their season Sunday. The UConn Huskies, Paige Buckers and Gino Auriemma, the coach, they won their 12th championship in school history. The men have 5, the women have 12, but you can see that they didn't win their first national championship till 1995. And look at this run: 1995, 2000, 02, 03, 04, 09, 2010, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then this year. So this is their first title since 2016. And look at this. They knocked off in the Final Four. They knocked off defending champ South Carolina 82-59. And then they beat the other number 1 seed, UCLA, 85-51, just blew out their opponents to win this national championship. So congratulations to the UConn Huskies. One other note around a sport we don't cover very often, but NHL hockey, Alexander Ovechkin, who's 39 years old, but he has gone full gray, so he almost looks like a 50-year-old guy. But he passed Wayne Gretzky as the NHL's all-time goal scorer with 895 goals scored. This is where, like, I love numbers and see how things go together. But Gretzky and Ovechkin both scored their 894th goal. Gretzky did it in 1,487 games. Ovechkin, 1,486 games, 1 game less. Now, this is a major accomplishment. However, if you total up the all-time points record, Wayne Gretzky, 2,857. To put that into perspective, no other player has more than 1,921 points. That's Jaromir Jagr, who you might remember from being a great Pittsburgh Penguin. But he is 936 points behind. Now, that's either an assist or a goal. That's how you get your points in the NHL. So Wayne Gretzky is still the great one, although now Alexander Ovechkin, they call him the Great Eight, is now the all-time goal scorer in NHL history. So congrats to him. All right, Joe, you want to get into the Browns? Want to do a little Browns talk?
Yeah, can I ask an uncomfortable question?
Please.
So you said the White Lotus, there was a lot of body count.
Yeah.
Did they break the 1,000? You're not getting what I'm throwing down.
Oh, like the porn people? Yeah. No.
They didn't break that?
No, when I mean body count, I mean dead body count.
Oh, totally different thing.
Dead body count.
Okay.
Yeah, dead body count. Not
the other body count.
Not the other
one
body.
The one I popped in my
the show. Let me see. I'm trying to flash back real quick. I think there was maybe like 3 or 4 other of the other type of scenes in that show. One which was really questionable decision making by a couple brothers, which we won't get into. So
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting show. Great show, but very interesting. This was actually, if I'm I'll talk about the White Lotus in a little bit, but if I'm ranking the White Lotus seasons, this was my least favorite season, but it was still like an 8 out of 10. It was still really good because they have set the bar so high on that show. So speaking of setting the bar high, that's not something we do with the Cleveland Browns. Let's set the bar a little bit lower and let's talk. Low? I don't know. We'll see. That's up for interpretation. Okay. But here are the Browns draft picks for this 2025 season. They have 10 picks right now as of today. Now, if there's any other trades, maybe that you add some more, or maybe you combine like a 3-for-1 type thing and you move up a little bit. But right now they have the round 1 pick, number 2 overall. They have the first pick of the second round, which is number 33. They have 2 third-round picks, their own, which is number 67, and then the pick from Buffalo, which they got from the Amari Cooper trade. And then round 4, pick number 104. So 5 picks within the first 104 picks. That's pretty good. You could get a wealth of talent from that haul. I think the Browns have to hit minimum on 3 of those 5 picks. You need 3 starters, if not 4 starters out of that group. Now, if you get a quarterback, I don't know if that's going to end up being a guy that starts right away, a developmental guy, whatever it might be, but you need to get several starters out of those first picks, and hopefully maybe even like, a later round pick guy hits. So, no one's expecting anybody in the draft to go, 100% with their picks, but hopefully the Browns are able to, hit on the majority of their picks this year. If we look at the 2025 draft, now every team owns their own pick this year, which is very rare, at least in the first round. So you look at the top 10 there, and overall where the teams are slated. The Browns went out to Colorado, and the Browns obviously are picking number 2. 2 of the top prospects in this draft are Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, defensive back out of Colorado, the Heisman Trophy winner, and the quarterback, Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, obviously a quarterback. Those are 2 of the top picks. The Browns took their whole draft contingency out there. They took Jimmy Haslam, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, your boy Paul DePodesta, and obviously I'm sure there was many more people in that contingent. Deion Sanders, I believe, and quoted to Mary Kay Cabot or one of the Browns beat reporters, said they'll take Shedeur or Hunter with that pick. So he firmly believes the Browns are taking either Travis Hunter or Shedeur, or his son Shedeur Sanders with that number 2 pick overall. What say you? So if I told you, and then you're on record, we've talked about this before, you're on record, you want Abdul Carter, I believe, with that number 2 pick. So I think it's almost a lock that Cam Ward is going to Tennessee right now, just based on reports. So if we just assume, and you know what happens when you assume,
Yeah.
but let's just assume Cam Ward goes to Tennessee. Let's just take him and the number 1 pick off the board. So let's just say the Browns are picking number 1 overall, but the Titans are out and Cam Ward is out. So the Browns have the draft kind of starts with that. Are they taking the defensive end, who they can pair with Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter? Are they taking the quarterback, which they so desperately need, but they might love him, they might not like him, they might just think kind of, he's in the middle? Or do you take the best player, best athlete in this draft, with Travis Hunter, who a guy they'll probably would put at wide receiver that could play defensive back in certain situations? Because if you draft a guy like Travis Hunter, he's got to be there in the wide receiver room, learn the position, because there's so many more things on offense you got to be ready for, whether it's blocking, whether it's checking to an audible, whether it's a quick a hot route, something like that. Whereas a defensive back, if he's thrown in there, and be like, hey, we're playing man, you go cover that guy, something like that. So those are kind of the 3 options. Or the 4th option, I guess, could be you trade back a couple picks and maybe one of those guys is still there. If the Giants hypothetically are like, well, we really like Shedeur Sanders, but we're not sure if the Browns are going to take him, so let's go up to 2, trade him our number 3 pick for, maybe another 2nd or 3rd rounder or something like that. So Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, or trade back. Those are your 4 options on the table right now. You are Andrew Berry. A team calls. You have the decision to make of one of those players, or you trade back in the draft. What are you doing?
It's a long explanation, and I hate the explanation.
No.
So I'm not sold on Shedeur Sanders. I don't think I think he will be an okay quarterback, but you got a 2nd round pick. And if you're not going to pick Shedeur Sanders, you're going to trade back, because I don't want to waste a 2nd pick on an edge or a cornerback or a wide receiver. So I say you give up the 2nd pick, maybe get 2 2nd round picks or something like that, something good. And then if you're going to build up the defense, then you can add someone later. And I'd rather get lucky by a later pick than over investing in a Shedeur Sanders. I'm very uncomfortable.
And that's fair. And I think Shedeur Sanders, from all the experts, your Todd McShays, your Mel Kipers, all your other draft analysts, there's a bunch of them out there now. It seems to be like Mel Kiper thinks he's the best quarterback in the draft, whereas Todd McShay or other guys are like, well, he could be the number 2 pick, or he could fall maybe down in the teens or the 20s. From everywhere I've seen, he's a consensus like top 20 type player, but no one's sold on him at number 2 except for, maybe a few experts. So my question is, if you think he's good enough to go to the New York Giants at 3, this is some people, but he's not good enough to go 2 to the Browns. That's where I question some of these draft experts, because they're like, well, that would be an overreach for the Browns at 2, but it wouldn't be at 3 for the Giants, or it wouldn't be at 6 for the Raiders. So, or 9 to the, I put up here's the quarterback needy team. So let me just put that up first. So Will Levis is the quarterback right now of the Tennessee Titans. I don't think they love him. I think they think Cam Ward is the guy. They actually canceled a workout with Shedeur Sanders. So I think that's kind of telling everybody the writing's on the wall. They're taking Cam Ward. So the Browns right now, their starter right now as it stands, Kirk Cousins aside, Joe Flacco aside, if they go out and get one of those guys, would be Kenny Pickett right now. So the Browns are definitely a quarterback needy team. The Giants, number 3, they have both the Browns and Steelers cast off quarterbacks from last year, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, but those guys aren't your long-term answer. They want maybe some short-term success, and then maybe build up a guy. They need a quarterback. Number 6 is Geno Smith. He signed a 3-year deal, but it's one of those deals that's more like a 1 or 2 year deal, and then you can cut him. Derek Carr, he's getting up there in age, and he's kind of faded over the last few years. So I think the Saints are a team. Tua is a good quarterback when healthy, but we obviously know he can go out with injury anytime. Here's a very interesting situation. Now, this is just me putting this on here. Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, both 2 former first-round picks. Anthony Richardson just 2 years ago, Daniel Jones 5 years ago. But these guys have not made it in the NFL so far. Would they be interested in trading, up? Or if a guy like Shedeur Sanders falls to number 14, would they dare take him? Maybe for their future. And then the last team on here that I have out of the 8 teams is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They picked number 21 overall. They brought back Mason Rudolph, most punchable face in the league. They have Skylar Thompson as the backup, and that's it right now. That is not a good quarterback situation to be in. It appears Aaron Rodgers and them, by speculation, have some sort of handshake, wink, wink, nudge, nudge type deal. But he's still not signed. So will Aaron Rodgers land in Pittsburgh? I don't know. But those are kind of the quarterback situations. So if you look, on there, a team, if I have Tua and I'm the Miami Dolphins and I have an okay roster, if I know if Tua is healthy, I can compete to get to the playoffs. I'm probably taking the best player available to help me. And then the Colts, if I already have Anthony Richardson, who I invested the 3rd overall pick 2 years ago on, I'm probably not taking a quarterback. So there's a huge gap there from 9 to 21. So that's the reason I put that on there, was if the Browns do want to move up, you're probably going to have to get in front of Pittsburgh if they don't sign Aaron Rodgers. So if they do sign him, I don't know if they're going to take a quarterback, but those are the QB needy teams, in my opinion. So I don't know, but I think the Browns are more. I've flip-flopped on this, and that's not something I normally do. I think the Browns 2 weeks ago, I think dead set I was locked. They're taking Cam Ward or they're taking Shedeur Sanders. I was locked in. Now I'm about 50-50 on that. I think it's either Shedeur Sanders or your guy, Abdul Carter, or Travis Hunter. Those are kind of like the three options for me. So I don't know. I really don't know.
In all honesty, I'm not disappointed if it's any three of those names. We'll get by with it. They're all talented players. I think the upside for me with Shedeur Sanders is the dude does stay in the pocket, and the last quarterback that stood in there. I mean, Shedeur Sanders got sacked a bunch of times too.
He did, but also
he didn't run around and get injured and whatever. So if he could pull a Flacco, he's got accuracy, he's got an arm. Right. If we can keep him in the pocket and protect him, I think he would be a good investment.
Yeah, he is his best skill, I believe, is his accuracy and his anticipation, which is like a CJ Stroud type thing. Now, I don't think he has quite the arm of CJ Stroud, but he's got a good enough arm to get it done. So I did see a graphic. I don't have it with me, but I did see a graphic that the Browns have used the least amount of draft capital on skill position players over the last 5 years. So skill position, wide receiver, running back, tight end. The Browns have drafted the least amount of players, used the least amount of draft capital on those players over the past 5 years than any other NFL team. So to me, I think the defense, you can kind of push the defense out there right now, and the defense would be serviceable. Anytime you got Myles Garrett, you got maybe the best defensive player in the league in Myles Garrett. You have a lockdown cornerback in Denzel Ward. You got Grant Delpit, who's a great safety. Now, are there holes on there? That team, absolutely. You need some defensive end help, maybe some defensive tackle help. If JOK is not healthy,
linebackers,
that's a huge issue if he's not healthy. Now, they have a bunch of pretty good guys there, but without JOK, that leaves a huge hole because we don't know his health situation. But obviously, tight end behind Njoku, who are you going with? And you could use another safety back there. So I'm going to show you some of the players that I think stand out for the Browns possibly to take at the skill positions and then their other possible needs. So at the skill positions, I'm going to just start with the quarterback, first of all. We obviously know Ward, Sanders. There's Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, which I saw a tweet that was very interesting. It said Jalen Milroe has accepted an invitation to Green Bay. That's where the draft is being held this year, to be on that like first round. You know how they have like the red carpet backstage thing where they show all the players. Jalen Milroe has accepted an invitation to that. So he thinks he's going in the first round, whether that's a team taking him or a team trading back into the first round to come get him. Tyler Shuck, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, and there's, a handful of other names, but those are kind of the top 7 or 8 guys at quarterback. I think the Browns are going to get one of them. I don't know who, but I think they're going to take one of those players. If we take Cam Ward out of the pictures, Sanders, Dart, Milroe, Shuck, Ewers, and Howard are kind of the next leading candidates. At running back, I don't think the Browns are going to go after Ashton Genty. I think he's going to be a top 10 type player to go, but I think they are going to take at least one running back in this draft, if not 2. A guy that's been getting a lot of buzz is Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. You obviously have the 2 Ohio State Buckeyes in Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson. You got the running back out of Iowa, Caleb Johnson. You got the running back out of Tennessee, Dylan Sampson. Out of Kansas, Devin Neal. And you got Cam Skattebo, who made a big-time introduction to the world in that Arizona State-Texas playoff game. And you got Jordan James there out of Oregon. Now, that's just a handful of names. There are about 10 other guys that can really make an impact in this year's draft. The running back class is very deep. Wide receivers. The Browns must take a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, in my opinion. So here are the wide receivers. I think the Browns, they have to get one of these guys. Travis Hunter, obviously probably the top guy in the draft. McMillan out of Arizona. He is a big, tall, physical receiver. Played on a bad team, but is a really, really good player. Matthew Golden out of Texas. Luther Burden out of Missouri. Emeka Ibuka, the Buckeye, who was always been the number 2 receiver, but he's been the number 2 receiver behind Marvin Harrison Jr. and last year behind Jeremiah Smith in Columbus. Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris. Oh, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel are both out of Iowa State, and Trey Harris is another guy to look for. So I think the Browns have to come out of the draft with one of those players at wide receiver. So the tight end position is also a spot where I could see the Browns going in the first 3 rounds. You know, I don't think they're going to get the tight end from Penn State. I don't think they're going to get the tight end from Michigan, but I think, you know, they could get another guy that's going to go up towards the top of the first 2-3 rounds, whether it's Arroyo from Miami or whether it's, you know, another guy. I believe Jason Taylor's son from LSU is really good. But the other possible needs I could see the Browns going with: offensive line. I know Joe loves that. Tight end, as I mentioned, defensive end. Now, if you don't take Abdul Carter in the first round, you probably need to get a solid guy that could be a rotational player in the top 3-4 rounds that can, you know, rotate in there and be opposite Myles Garrett, or maybe even be that guy that gives Myles Garrett a breather on the sideline. And then safety was the other position, I think. Now, that's a lot of positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, O-line, tight end, defensive end. So basically,
the whole squad.
Pretty much the whole squad.
Trade him in.
But to me, I think the Browns, like, if they use their first 4 or 5 picks on offense, to me, that's what they got to do. I think.
Right, so I wanted to see what Polymarket said, who they thought Browns' first pick is going to be.
Okay.
What's the money say who their first pick is going to be?
Is can I ask if he plays at the University of Colorado? Yep. Okay. So Polymarket, you want to announce the pick?
Yep. Travis Hunter, 72% of the money says that Travis Hunter will be the first pick, seconded by Abdul Carter with 24%, and then Will Johnson, a corner, 23%.
Will Johnson is out of Michigan, the corner. Good player, but I would take him off the board.
And then Cam Ward had 23% if he's not chosen.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, Cam Ward. I think if Cam Ward is there at number 2 for some reason, the Browns are taking him 100%. Sure. If most likely the Titans are going to take him. So I think Travis Hunter is the new
72%. That's a bit. I was expecting it to be a little bit more split, but somebody knows something for sure.
I think so. And I think they came out of Boulder, Colorado this weekend. You know, I know they took both of those guys to dinner somewhere in Boulder, and you know, I think it's going to be one of those Colorado guys that go at number 2 overall if the Browns stay in that spot, unless somebody blows them away with a trade. I think they are probably taking Hunter at number 2.
And Polymarket says that 60% chance Aaron Rodgers is Pittsburgh's quarterback.
Okay. Paul, and so tell me what, like, I'm not familiar. Tell me what Polymarket is.
So it's basically the stock market for just about anything.
Okay.
You could put odds and gamble on things that are ridiculous and super specific. So if you wanted to float something, when somebody invests or bets on an outcome, it reflects in the value. So I would have to put up $94 to win, you know, $5 kind of thing. So,
but people actually do bet on that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a live betting app.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Can you bet on like political things on that?
Yeah.
Like elections?
It had a better return. Like it had a better bead on who was going to win the last election than the polling did.
Interesting. And I mean, follow the money, right?
Exactly.
Follow the money. And in real betting, usually you fade the public, but it sounds like in that you might want to follow the public.
Exactly.
In that, because
you're not stacking odds. You're basically saying there's a lot of people that know more than you and I, and if you can cash in on having information, Polymarket's the way to do it.
Okay. All right. That might be an app I might just download and take some of that advice and use it for other gambling sites. So
I do not think the United States is allowed to partake. I do not think. I think it's still, you have to.
So you can just be an observer on that. You can't actually
be
a
an observer,
live bettor.
but It's only blocked if the United States sees it's cryptocurrency.
What if I have a VPN?
VPN.
Okay.
Put in a country that it's allowed. Make your Bitcoin bet. Returns to your wallet. No harm, no foul.
This guy from Dubai is killing it, and he's betting on the Cleveland Browns a lot.
Dubai loves Cleveland Browns.
Deshaun Watson loves it over there too. Ooh. Apparently, oh boy. All right, now.
Yes.
Apparently, the NFL made this rule change that I actually thought was an April Fool's Day joke, but it apparently is not. They are listing championships, whether it was current to the Super Bowl or previous. So Steelers always say one for the thumb, because they got the 5 on the one. Browns, I mean, 2 more for the.
No, 1 for the middle finger, Steelers fan.
Yeah, we got our little pinky, our ring finger, and now finger.
Take that.
We just got to get our, our shooter fingers, our thumb and our index finger for 2 more for 10. But I mean, here's something I always, because Michigan fans are always like, well, we have 13 championships. It's like, okay, well, how many of those were, before World War II? And it's like 9 of them or 10 of them. So it's like, I have this thing like fandom, and like a win is a win, I guess. But to me, it's like, if you're bragging on something that happened in 1896, it's a little outdated, talk to me maybe after the Titanic sank in 1912, or maybe after World War II when, Hitler was defeated. But I don't know. Like, to me, this isn't a big deal. But I guess if you want to, be a braggadocious fan, you could say, hey, the Browns have 8 championships compared to the Steelers 6.
That's a weird thing, though, to commit a rule to. That is.
Yeah. I guess I understand, but because a championship is a championship, but like, again, you weren't playing with the same number of teams. So I think, the fans nowadays are always going to just say the Super Bowl era. And that makes sense. That makes sense to me. And unfortunately, the Browns have a big fat 0 in that. But 1946, 47, 48, 49, 50. So that's a hell of a run there. 54, 55, and 64. So.
Did you see when I posted when we're going to win the Super Bowl, the predictions?
Oh, wasn't it like 3 consecutive back-to-back years in the 70s or something, 2070s?
Yeah, 69, 70, and 71.
It's going to be a great 3-year run, and we're going to be in our 80s or 90s.
I'll be 96, I think. I'll be enjoying that shit, though.
Yeah, well, I'll just be telling my nurse in the home to just bring me some pizza and wings for when, so I can enjoy it before I
that's right,
before I exit.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't on there at all, and there's a new team on there. So
a new team.
You didn't see that?
No. I did see the graphic, but I didn't notice the new team. So it's probably like a Canadian team or a like what other city in America would be able to host or an NFL team that doesn't have one now.
Okay, so 2084.
2084 looks like, there's one in 2091 too. 2084. I don't know. Something North Stars in 2091. Oh, 2084, the Monarchs. The London Monarchs. The London Monarchs at 2084. Get your money in now. 2084 London. But what were the Browns years again?
It was 2069, 70, and 71.
Oh, 69. Good year. 69, 70, and 71.
Oh, the Monarchs won again in 2037 too, so it's not far off.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right. So the London Monarchs, heads up for them. They got to. If that actually becomes a real team,
dude,
I still don't understand how you can do the logistics of having a European team in the NFL, because the teams that play overseas now in Germany or Ireland or in England, like they give them a bye week after that to kind of like come back and so they can recuperate, rest.
Well, don't have our teams travel there. Set up a stadium in New England, and they can just come over here and play all their
And they're based out of London?
Yeah.
So, like, why even have a team then? Because
it'd be owned by England.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of money in American teams now that are not American money. Like, to me, if you're naming your team the London Monarchs, you got to host some games in London. So do you do like maybe eight or 9 home games in a row?
Yeah.
Then that'd be brutal for them. But like, imagine the London Monarchs playing the Seattle Seahawks. What the hell kind of travel is that? Like, so what is it? A 6-hour flight? I know it's 7.5 to Paris from here. So to England's probably a little less, maybe like 6 hours. So let's even say like to go from New York to New York to England, let's even say it's 5 hours. But if one of those teams plays an LA team, LA to New York, 5 hours, and then on top of that, 5 hours, a 10-hour flight minimum, that's a hell of a travel schedule for a team overseas. They're kind of doing their self a disservice. So I don't know how, like, do you remember when the 49ers would play 2 East Coast games back to back? They would stay here in Youngstown, and I'm sure they might do it again, but they would play, I know they played like at the Jets, and then they played either like the Browns or the Eagles or something like that. So instead of flying all the way back to San Francisco, they stayed in Youngstown. You know, the DeBartlows are from Youngstown, and they would just practice at YSU for the week and then get ready for their opponent here. So, but to me, that's tough because you're not in your own bed, you're not in your own house.
But the NFL wants that market so bad.
I know it. But like, I mean, if you had one team, if you rotated it, you got 16 teams, right? So, 32 teams. So if you had half of the league play over there actually you could have all 32 teams play over there, right? And then if you had 16 weeks where they were over there, every team could play each other. I don't know the schedule making logistics of that.
What if they took a group of them in Europe and had the EFL play the NFL in the championship?
I don't like that. I don't like
it.
No. There's already
make more sense logistics wise though.
Maybe. And then they'd be the world champion.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something in 2069, 70, and 71 that the Browns will be playing a team from England.
We'll have portals, so like you could just get through the portal and do a time.
Let's hope so. We can't even get freaking hypertrain around here yet. So we were supposed to have that shit like 20 years ago. So come on.
Jetsons freaking lied. There's a whole bunch of stuff I've been looking for.
I think it's our government over the past 20 years has been not getting shit done. That we could have had the hyperrail by now to get us from Cleveland to Columbus in 20 minutes, or Youngstown.
Did you see the vacuum tube one?
Oh, I would love. I have seen it.
Slick.
Yeah,
that's
where I think a lot of the world is ahead of us. Japan, or places in England or Europe. I think they are ahead of us with that kind of technology, because I mean, come on, like we have the ability to do it. It's just a matter of like getting shit done. So
all right, I got to go do an interview.
Yep,
you good?
Yep, please do it. Yep. Let's go to wrap up with a few things here. So, okay. So the Denver Nuggets have shockingly decided to clean house and fired their head coach, Mike Malone, and their GM. I'm talking just days. I showed you the Cavs schedule earlier. 4 games left for the Cavs. The Nuggets got to be in the same ballpark there. So just days, ahead of the playoffs. And the Nuggets are a top 5 seed in the West. So this is a team that has championship aspirations. They won the title just 2 years ago. So that is a wild thing for them to do at this point in the season. Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves, great young player, one of the best 2 guards in the entire league, had a child born in March of 2023, another child born in September of 2023, another child born in October of 2023, and another child born in October 2024 by 4 different women at 23. Now, I did see another report where he paid one of these women I can't remember what the exact sum was, but it was $5,000 a month to the equivalent of 18 years. So he was not paying child support. He was kind of getting ahead of it. So Anthony Edwards, not the greatest guy off the court, or maybe needs to learn a little defensive coverage of his own. He's a great offensive player, but maybe not the best defensive player. So thoughts on Anthony Edwards, BJ?
Has been busy.
I mean, that guy gets around, man.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I guess you're in the NBA, but yeah, I mean, I thought, wasn't there like don't a lot of NBA players, especially guys that make a bunch of money, don't they have them sign like
NDAs?
Yeah,
NDAs, I would think so.
Like if they go on a date or they're going to hook up, it's like you have to sign this before you leave the room.
Maybe so. Like
you're signing this before you go to the hotel room.
Obviously,
not him.
Yeah, not him, or not the best publicists in town. So, Val Kilmer passed away. Sorry, we're switching. That's called a transition, and wasn't my most smooth transition. But rest in peace to Val Kilmer. Do you have a favorite Val Kilmer movie or role that he maybe played in over the years? I don't know how much of a movie guy you are.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was really good in The Doors, and he was also and Top Gun, obviously, is what everybody's gonna. That's probably the most iconic role, I would say. As far as but he was great as Jim Morrison too. And
then another movie. This is kind of a sleeper. This was one of those like movies that was always on HBO. Like when I was a kid growing up, it was called Real Genius. He played a character called Chris Knight. Really good movie. Go check that out. Batman Forever was not the greatest movie, but the dude played Batman. So, I mean, you got to give him credit for that. But like BJ said, he was great in the Doors movie, playing Jim Morrison. All right. Now, do you watch Game of Thrones? I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones guy.
I don't.
Okay. But in the Game of Thrones world, they have direwolves. And direwolves are like, they're wolves, but they're like way, way bigger. Mm. Now, apparently, they have brought direwolves back from extinction. And I don't know, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Are we should we be doing this? What's your thoughts on direwolves?
They actually did this?
They actually did this.
I mean, they should be able to bring a lot of animals back from extinction, shouldn't they?
I know they're trying to do like a woolly mammoth and stuff, but have we not seen the Jurassic Park movies to know?
Well, as long as you're not bringing back like raptors or no. I mean, I think most animals, like you can bring back the dodo bird, no one's going to complain.
Right.
There's certain ones I think you're all right, just as long as you don't go too far with it.
But this will be interesting to see what pans out with this. But like a direwolf has been brought, has apparently been, I don't know how they created it in a lab, obviously somehow, but it's very, very interesting because it went extinct 10,000 years ago. So very, very interesting.
It's crazy.
It is wild. Now we're not gonna get into this, but I posted this on, we are gonna get into it. You don't have to say the names, but when I was a kid, and I'm sure when BJ was a kid, and I'm sure most of you out there that have watched this, we played all these different types of games with the football. Sometimes we'd play with a baseball, but no quarterbacks, no blockers, no receivers, no teams. It was every man for himself. If you got tackled, you had to throw the ball up and someone else grabs it and runs. Where you're from, what is this game called? Now, I posted this and I got a lot of different responses on this, but I know what I called it or what we called it growing up that would not be politically correct. And I'm just going to say it because why not? Because I think most people know. We used to call it smear the queer, which is not very politically correct. I don't think kids today would call it that, but I heard a lot of different names out there. Did you ever play that game growing up?
Yeah, that's what we called it too. That's what I think everybody called it. I mean, there was no, I get the PC connotation to it now. I mean, there was no like, I don't think anybody was thinking of anybody gay.
No,
like
yeah.
No. You know what I mean? There was none of that overtone involved. It was just like, hey, we're going to go tackle this kid.
I think somebody just threw it together and it rhymed and sounded funny back then. So, I thought that was an interesting thing. Real quick baseball note. Now, the Pittsburgh Pirates, just right down the road here, they probably their most famous player of all time is Roberto Clemente, like maybe most well known. Or the number 21, unfortunately passed away in a plane crash, way back when. But probably the best player in the history of their franchise. Had a tribute banner up on the right field wall, number 21. He played right field. And then that was just sort of mysteriously replaced this season with a cocktail ad. Now, a lot of Pirates fans, after they realized this, were really, really upset. Now, I know you're a Reds fan, not a Pirates fan, but like as a Cleveland fan, this would make me mad if they did this to one of my favorite players, and took away a tribute to them and replaced it with an alcohol ad. What's your thoughts on this?
Who are worse owners? Is it the Pirates owners or the Browns? What's a worse run organization?
Well, the Browns, that's a different question.
Well, all right. Well, I guess the Browns with the first one. Who are worse owners? I mean, the Browns at least spend money. I guess.
The Browns spend money.
The Pirates might be the worst. Like they might have the worst ownership in all professional sports, and this is just another stupid thing that they did. But yeah, I mean, they you talk about a team that has like no hope, and they're basically just a farm system for the rest of the major leagues. Like they'll get a good player or two, and then they're just gone.
Yeah, and they got Paul Skeens right now, and like who we'll see maybe in 4 or 5 years he might be out of there. But
I think he will be for sure if he's any good. The money they're going to throw him. You know what I mean? If he keeps playing the way he's playing. Yeah,
these contracts are insane, and some of these guys are making more than the Pirates are spending per season. And it's a baseball, unfortunately, has become a have and have not league. There is revenue sharing and things like that, but a lot of these owners, to me, and this will be a whole show on its own, but there should be a salary floor and a salary cap. Teams should be in the middle. Like right now we're seeing teams like the Pirates and the A's and the Guardians and and a handful of other teams, actually probably about 15 other teams. The Miami Marlins, I believe, are the lowest spending team. But it's like the difference, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in payroll with these teams. So I'm thinking like, and I'll just make up an arbitrary number. Maybe you make your salary floor like 100 million and you make your salary cap like 250 million. Whereas like you have to spend this because you're guaranteed to make money in this revenue sharing. And these teams are just pocketing it, and it's frustrating. So
baseball's gotten way too top heavy. You know what I mean? It just like who's going to beat the Dodgers? Like
I know it's
going to be Dodgers Yankees. Like I think forever. Like that's just and again, it's not other owners can go out and spend the money. They're just not because you make a ton of money regardless. Like I think how it works in Major League Baseball. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the more money you spend as an owner, the less you make less. Like you're cutting in your own profits by doing that, but you're putting a competitive product in the field where the Pirates can spend nothing, or these teams can spend nothing, and they still get a big hunk of the revenue sharing. So they're making all kinds of money. So there needs to be, there needs to be some kind of regulation with that.
And where some of these teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers, when you're in these major markets, you can get these big TV contracts, and that's where they can make more money and then thus spend more money. But like you said too, it's, these teams are pocketing this money. So, you might be eating into some of your profits, but you're also not putting a competitive product on the field to help you. You have a fan base that you should be, selling out for. So, you obviously want to be a business person. You obviously want to make a lot of money, but your job should be, one, to put a competitive roster on the field while making money, and then two, get as much money as you can, but also you have to like help that fan base. Like like Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cleveland luckily has a competent front office, has a competent farm system, and has developed a ton of guys where they've been a very formidable team for the last 30 years. Whereas the Pirates, they were good in like the 80s and the early 90s, but they really haven't done much since then, and they haven't found that competitive balance. So I don't know what the answer is. It's just an unfortunate thing there. So I don't know what the answer is, but what would you say? Would it be salary cap, salary floor, or both?
I think both.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a way to bring it closer together, like you're saying. But yeah, I mean, the Pirates, there's no excuse other than just the ownership doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's some teams where it's just blatantly obvious they don't care. And and so it reflects in their attendance. It reflects in their fan base too. I mean, not that Pittsburgh, it's generally a football hockey town anyway. Yeah. But the last time the Pirates made the playoffs, right? I remember this because they played the Reds. They scared the Reds pitcher out of the building. They made noise on every single pitch. I was like, oh, when we went into that game, I'm like, I was like, oh, there's no chance they're going to win this.
Yeah,
like, none, and they didn't. So yeah, like I mean, they will show up if they get there, if they ever do it. But like the owners, they don't care.
Yeah,
like, Nuttings don't care.
It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Which is sad to see for Pirates fans. Yeah, there are I knew a lot of people that are diehard Pirates fans, but I mean, they're just. Yeah. And they have one of the nicest stadiums in Major League Baseball.
The most beautiful. Yeah, it's if it's not the best, it's top 3 for sure. And yeah, so I don't feel for many Pittsburgh fans, but Pirates fans, I can understand. They're they're sort of the Browns of Major League Baseball. So that's where we're going to close out. Remember, if you weren't with us towards the beginning of the show, BJ put out his sleepers for the Masters. We will post that out on social media. But one more time, Sergio Garcia, Keegan Bradley. I really like the Keegan Bradley pick. Phil Mickelson, Steven Yager, and Angel Cabrera, freshly released out of prison. So interesting story there. But should be a fun week. You got the par 3 competition tomorrow. And that's always like kind of cute with the little kids caddying for their for their dad or whatever. It's just a bunch of good. It's a bunch of good images and a bunch of cool content that comes out of that. But the most prestigious course maybe in the world, and just so much fun to watch. So make sure to check in with that. And like BJ said, there's a great app out there. So go download that Masters app before the tournament. So for Joe, for BJ, I'm Justin. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.